What's up? Who saw this rally coming? I didn't. What a rally! I guess because AWS is down. There's no sellers out there. Gold on a new closing high, not an all-time new high yet, but a new closing high, and maybe it might get there before we're done. Interesting. Uh, but a lot of things going on, and the overall economy, I can prove, is not as good as it appears. But it doesn't really matter because the markets do what the markets do, and we have no say-so as to what they do. We just play what we can and take advantage of either side. And at the end of the day, here's what you got. You're really just still in consolidation. What did we say last Monday? Does anybody remember? Probably a buying opportunity because we're still in a consolidation period. We went from overbought to oversold in one day. What does it mean? Well, now we're getting back up to the oversold spot. Probably an opportunity to sell. But again, we know a few facts. Markets tend to go up over time, especially with the lack of participation. And oh, look what happened today. We had 6 days in a row of reasonable volume today. The lightest day in 4 weeks. So, is it the AWS thing? Is it the lack of participation? What is it? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I just think that, again, this just shows me that the participants are not around, and at the end of the day, we'll see how it plays out. But for the meantime, certainly, if we get up, to the highs, you'd probably want to be a seller. Now, I'm talking from a trading standpoint. I'm not talking about your investments. I'm just talking about pure out and out trading. Okay, that's what we like to look at. When we're here, that's what we're talking about. When I give you levels, that's what we're talking about. Okay. Investing, you're hedged anyways, hopefully. So it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, the markets are the markets. Okay. You can look and you can see the picture as clear as a bell. Okay. And here we are. The NASDAQ is getting close to a sale. Now, do you want to take a chance and sell there? That becomes up to you. But for my money, I'm going to sell into an overbought market. That's just what I do. Okay. I'm not telling you that I'm right all the time. I'm not telling you that it's the right thing to do, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay. When I get to resistance, give me a reason to sell it at that level. That's what I'm going to do. Give it an overbought, get me 3 standard deviations away from the mean. I'm definitely going to try to buy it or sell it at that level. Okay. That's just the way that I do things. It doesn't make it right or wrong. That's the way I trade. Okay. Again, I like to sell into blowoffs. I like to buy into blowoffs. And again, this is not really a blowoff, so I can't. But last Friday, a week ago, was a blowoff. What's up there, buddy? All right. So again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do and what I look at and what makes sense to me. But you have to be willing to, when there's losers, they're not all going to be winners, and it's the management of the trade that you have to take care of. Okay. How do you get out? Where's your exit point? What if it doesn't work? Those are all things you need to look at. Okay. I mean, look, there's a lot of credit risk in this country. Okay. And, at the end of the day, is that going to be the canary in the coal mine? The credit risk? I don't know. I think there's a lot to think about. But we have a lot of issues that we're dealing with. But certainly, I think the overall, if you're making under $200,000 a year, depending on where you live, okay. But let's say you live in a major metropolitan area. If you're making under 200 grand a year, you're not living very well, unless you're building a lot of debt. Okay. I think that's a pretty accurate statement. Again, it depends where you live, because certainly 200,000 in New York doesn't go very far. 200,000 in Nebraska goes a long way. Okay. But at the end of the day, I think we're destroying the entire middle class, and everybody's blindfolded to what is happening. They're so infatuated with the news saying that they're doing so well that they think, oh, I am doing well. But when they finally find out that they can't afford to eat, not a good picture. I mean, look at the cost of beef. It's going through the roof. Okay. So, look, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And the markets are the markets. And as I always say, Ross Perot. Yes, he did. As I always say, the economy and the markets don't have to go in the same direction. Okay. But certainly you'll hear more about this, but that'll be a little bit later. It's part of my Bubba's bitch, so you're gonna have something to look forward to. In the meantime, should a judge be able to get involved with tariffs? Should a judge be able to get involved with firing federal employees? What is the overall opinion of the group here? Just out of curiosity. That's what I say. No, that's what I say. Fuck them. That's what I say. I don't want anybody to lose their job. Listen, I'm not advocating people lose their jobs. Okay. But why are we going to the Supreme Court? We're going to the Supreme Court for tariffs on November 5th on the grains. China doesn't like us. Does anybody not get that part? That China is not our friend? Okay. Do we understand that China is not a friend of the United States? That China is an enemy? Okay. They don't want to buy our grains anyways. This is just a good excuse for them. They were never big buyers, except when there was a demand, when there was not enough around. Anyways, Connie, I know you're ready, but I will always ask, are you ready? Okay. Apparently, throughout history, they've been the worst superpower, 50% of record. Well, I mean, they are a world superpower. I mean, just by sheer number of people. Okay, but they have technology. Listen, they could take over if they want to go to war. But it's like the movie War Games. Going to war with the United States. If the superpowers get to war, there's no winner really when you get there. The only way to win is not to play. Can we get a tariff? Yeah, we could. We'll probably get one. Stupidly want to see the biggest customer. Yeah, I mean, but they don't really care. Again, they would love to see us. China would love. This will be my last word on China. China would love to see us fail because they want to take over. They want to be the United States of America. Okay, and they want to run the government and the world their way. Okay, not the way that it should be run. It's that simple. Okay. Honestly, it is that simple. They want to be the boss. They want to be the United States of America. They want to do the same thing they did when the treaty ended in Hong Kong. And they want to turn the world into a communist state. So, but anyways, the dollar, Delta X rate. Well, I mean, again, we're still just churning. We're right back there on this support level of 98. I think we're 98 to a buck. No big surprise. They're trying to tank the dollar, but not doing a very good job at it. The euro currency, again, same pattern. Just flip it upside down. It'll look the same. Okay, but at the end of the day, okay, we haven't really changed. We're still 116 to 118. So you're going to see a lot of these things that haven't changed. We're still hitting some very big moves in some minor stocks, and I mean some of the bigger ones, but a lot of the smaller stuff, the smaller cap stuff that just flies like crazy. But at the end of the day, if you look at most things, you'll see we're kind of sitting in a range. Okay. The notes, Zulu November, here we are pushing up against. Now, I did sell notes as I told you I would. Okay. I think 114 is about as high as they'll go this time. If they go that far, I think you're 113 to 114. Okay. And I'm short them. Okay. I sold them. As I said I would. Listen, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I did it. Uh, Again, interest rates are starting to come down a little bit. Not enough to help the consumer, but they are coming down a little bit. Okay. The problem is that most consumers can't get credit anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the rate is. There's so many are so mortgaged out with their credit cards and everything else. So, good afternoon, sir. The bonds, Zulu Bravo, 116 to 119. We said watch that 118 level. There you go. See, it held 118, went right to 119. So we'll see. Again, I believe that interest rates will go up. Okay. I believe this is all bullshit. Okay. And the inflation is a big player here. We offered China a peaceful coexistence. We funded their industry, educated our children, brought them into our global economy. They murder our children with fentanyl, sabotage our critical infrastructure, strangle our supply chains. America has a positive sum spirit. No country did more for Chinese prosperity than America. So why has no country done more to undermine America than China? For the Chinese Communist Party, it is not enough for China to prosper. America must fail. The Chinese have made their choice. Now we must make ours. This is how we respond to economic war. I believe you. I'm with that. Okay. China has destroyed our middle class. Yes, I agree with that too. Okay. And again, Nixon was the one who got us into China. Henry Kissinger. That was why even though he got impeached and he did some bad things, that'll go down in history as he was a good president. But at the end of the day, China's outlived its usefulness because they're too powerful and they want too much control. That was the 100-year plan we've talked about here a number of times. But anyways, Bitcoin, after getting clobbered last week, came down to that 105, which we said it could get to. Well, you know what I mean. He would have been impeached. You are correct. I'm wrong. 105 to 115 in Bitcoin. Okay. Um, and again, look, I think Bitcoin's going higher. I may go lower first. I told you I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back under 100. Look, we look at things in too short of a time span. And if you're trading it, then the right place to sell it is about 115 as a trade. If you're looking to accumulate, all those people have been accumulating gold all these years at 800, at 1,000, at 2,000, at 2,500. Look at it now. You have to anytime you're doing something, you have to decide, is this a trade or is it an investment? And am I willing to hold through thick and thin? That's the bottom line. Okay. Yeah, he fucked us there off the gold standard. That was a joke, Bretton Woods. Anyways, 105 to 115 in Bitcoin. Gold, new closing high. It looks like it might get to an all-time new high. Either way, it's a new closing high. Look, as I'll tell you last week, I'll tell you this week. The only place I would, if I were going to do anything, and I'm not telling you I'm going to, would be to sell at 4,400. Okay. And just I want to see the action at 4,400 and look to sell it. 4,200 would be support. But again, this has obviously been crazy. Thursday night into Friday was what is known in the business as a key reversal. And look what happened. It was a key reversal into a blow off that immediately caused a rally. Okay. Now, again, I'm not encouraging you to do anything here. I think if you're going to trade gold, I own gold, right? I own physical gold. But if you're going to trade gold right here, I believe the only trade to make is to sell it. But I'm telling you here that I wouldn't be in such a hurry, and the captain put it in the chat room too. I wouldn't be in such a hurry to run and sell here. But certainly, if the price action dictated that it was that it should be sold, that I would certainly sell it. Okay. Again, I'm not encouraging you to do anything. Obviously you're at all-time highs. So what we really need to find, other than being overbought, which is, again, we talk about this all the time. Markets can be overbought for an extended period of time. Okay. So is the probability favors a beatdown. Okay. But again, how much gumption do you have to sit there and hold if it's going against you? That's always the big key in trading is where is your puke point? Okay. So for today, I would watch it. Okay. I'm not ready to say short it, but listen, everybody will know that's with me when I put on the risk, the ratio spread, which we already have on at one place. But when I put it out for everybody, you'll know that I'm ready to sell it. Right now, I'm letting it go and to see what happens. Anyway, it's 42 to 44. Silver, after getting clobbered. Now, interestingly, silver only came back partially, whereas gold came back all the way. Okay, and it's interesting. Oops, wrong chart. It's interesting, but in the meantime, 50 is support. Yeah, we got below it for a little bit, and I think 54 is resistance. 50 to 54, and certainly if I were looking at silver, now to me, I'd like to be a buyer of silver and a seller of gold as a spread. Platinum got clocked also. And again, platinum did not come back either, but it did come down to support at 1,600. I think you're 16 to 17. Copper, well, here we are. Here we go again, right? We had the one big down day. So that establishes your levels right there. Okay. 48, 484 or so to 520. Right in that area. Okay. There it is. It's one day. We've been inside that one big down day since. Okay. We're trading inside. We haven't been able to break out of that range. So once again, as what happened here, if you remember, we traded inside until we broke to the upside. So now we're inside again, and we've been inside for six days. We'll see what happens. Freeport McMoran. uh, Wheat, again, the grains are just so lackadaisical, and everybody's waiting for some news. And again, we go to China and all. Look, if you're going to play the grain market, I don't think you could sell it. I think you got to be a buyer. I think your 490 to 510, that has not changed. We've been in the same range for a week, for weeks, for months. But right now, our new range is 490 to 510. Corn is 410 to 430. Has not changed. Okay. Again, look at this. This is not rocket science. Okay. I think, is gold making a new high right now? Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Yeah, there you go. All-time new closing high and all-time new print high. There you go. Okay. New closing high, new print high. No, but not that it means anything, but there you have it. Okay. Anyways, corn 410 to 430. Soybeans, a little bit of a pop up today, but I think, hold on, I think this is a roll situation. It was a higher today, but I think this is a roll situation as well. So let's just put up the right contract. And that's January 26th. Okay. And there you go. So there was a little bit of rally. So now we have a new contract. We need new levels. So we're going to use 1060 as support, excuse me, as resistance, 1020 as support. A little bit of a blow off action. If you trade these, I'd probably be looking for a spot to sell tomorrow. So that'd be, I mean, again, not that I'm bearish or bullish. It's just, again, blow off comes, I'm going to look to possibly take advantage of it. Cattle, after going down limit on Friday, looks like we're stuck in that range. We identified 240 to 248, and we'll see what happens here. It keeps going up, and of course, there's a lack of supply. So one of the things you deal, technicals always play, but one of the things you deal with in a world when there's also a supply demand component. Commodities still do have a supply demand component. Equity stocks do not. Okay, options have a supply demand component. In the meantime, as long as supply is thin, these could continue to go higher. Now, personally, I'd be looking to sell them, but right now I'm not anxious. I'm not anxious to step in front of the train. Okay. Feeder cattle, which I don't trade, but it's still in that same range, 360 to 380. Hogs. All right, let me change this. Hold on, I got to put up December because these guys are always behind. Okay. I would be looking to be a buyer of hogs somewhere around 81 or so, 80 or 81, somewhere in that area. I think resistance is going to be 84. I think you get a bounce here. So we'll see where it goes from there. Natural gas, nice explosion today. Nice pop. Right off of where we thought we should buy it, around $3, right? Then we haven't been talking about that for weeks, around $3. I think that's correct. Okay. So there you go. So here we're 3 to 360. Now, certainly, I know somebody who bought. Did you sell any of that stuff you bought today? I know you're here, I think. Yeah, but if you didn't sell some, I would sell a little bit of it. Okay. I know you bought 4 contracts. I would sell a little bit of it. Just again, because it's like a blow off formation. But again, that's up to you. That's what I would do. Okay. Crude oil. If the economy is so good, why does crude oil keep going down? Okay. I think now resistance is at 60, which I would be a seller. And support, we got to be down here, about 55. And I think we're going down there too. Well, I think it's a sad chart. I think it's a sad state to the economy. What do you think about that? You know, if oil is not going up and there's an oversupply, which there is, what does that say for the economy? Okay. Remember, fossil fuels, crude oil, is involved in 80% of almost everything you do. Think about that. Any questions from part 1? Anybody want to know anything? Freeport Macro, I looked it up here real quick before I flip it over. You gave me the friggin'. the friggin', that looks okay. Steady as she goes.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.